Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Get to Know Them. I am your host, Monica Graves. I am so excited to be here. As you know, Get to Know Them is a show where I want to inspire you with real life stories shared by some of my most favorite people. And today, have I ever got a treat for you? I cannot wait to introduce our guest. I am so excited, as I know you are too. And before I do that, I'm going to talk to you about, as usual, my outfit of the day. Today, I am wearing a vintage jacket from our favorite sponsor, Brenda Bedome. It is so comfy and it looks so awesome over my really super cool Coca-Cola t-shirt, which our guest today happened to give me for my 50th birthday. And it's one of my favorite shirts, and he's one of my favorite guys. So our other sponsor, of course, is Glam Jewels. We broadcast here live from my jewelry studio every week. Go online, go to glamjewels.com and check out our latest collection for the Christmas season. Make sure you pick up one of our Three Little Wishes bracelets. As you know, our Three Little Wishes bracelets help support a family over Christmas who are suffering from the financial burdens of cancer. So make sure you grab one of those for yourself. Go to brendabadome.com, use the coupon code, Get to Know Them, and you're going to get 22% off of your order. Get on there, do some shopping with some awesome local Canadian businesses. So, are you ready? Are you ready to hear all about our guest? I cannot wait for you to meet Nicholas Picholas today, you guys. Nick is a morning show radio host and experiential journalist at KISS 98.5. While living with his wife and three children in Lewiston, New York, Nicholas is active as a feature DJ and host at events and clubs in the area. Nick also plays music at the stadium for all the Bills home games, as he did the same for the Buffalo Sabres for 10 years. Most recently, he flew to Detroit, where the Bills played Cleveland. Nick is there to play some great tunes and keep the home game vibes alive for the Buffalo Bills. Nick's previous work includes CFNY, Energy FM, CFMU, and host of Video and Arcade Top 10 on YTV. Only a few of us lucky people can say this, but some of us, many of you who are watching, remember Nick from his rise to DJ fame. I'm delighted to introduce you to Nick, as he is one of my most beloved high school friends. And let me tell you, all that magic and charisma he has today, he had it back then too. So I'm going to bring him on right now. Yay!
Yo, hello.
Nicholas! I'm so
Monica,
happy to see you.
it's been forever. How are you?
It has been forever. I'm going to take my glasses off.
Okay, good. Yeah, now I know you.
Yeah, now you know.
God, you still look like high school. This is crazy.
I know, so do you. And speaking of high school, so I just, before we start, I want to acknowledge on this public forum what an awesome friend you have been to me over the years. Like, I can count on every finger and beyond all the times I've reached out to you when I was starting out, when I was trying to figure things out with my business. You
Mhm,
introduced me to your sister, who is like the biggest jewelry rep in New York, who is now one of
mhm.
my best friends. You've done so much. You even got me an interview at YTV when I said, Nick, I think I could host a kids show. And anything I've ever asked for, you're always so happy to help and support. And I know I'm not the only person you're like that with. And you got me the coolest t-shirt for my birthday. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
that's not just a Coke t-shirt. That's a Coca-Cola Classic t-shirt because you are a classic. The
Thank
original. Yeah, that's good.
the original. Yeah, and I have nothing but fond memories of us in high school, including you driving your old BMW up to Oakville Place, and it was a stick shift, and you did something funny where you were like, "Oh my God, I can't keep the car in control," and we started rolling back down the hill with another car coming up behind us, and I remember screaming at the top of my lungs, but you knew exactly what you were doing.
Oh, that's funny. I remember that car. My God, the old BMW. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, it's funny. So
yeah.
I remember people and places mostly for songs and for cars. Like
Oh,
I can figure out where I was living, or because I've, moved around a lot. But I kind of know where I was depending on what car I had. So,
Ah,
yeah, knowing that
that
you're in
car
the
was
BMW
green.
era is very funny.
Yeah. Was it a green car, that
Yeah, it was a green
BMW?
it was a
Yeah.
1974 BMW 2002. The year wasn't 2002, the model was 2002, and I bought it
Yes.
off Doctor, and I loved that car, and every time I went to the service place, it was $500 to fix, and I'm like, I don't have that kind of money at this time. I'm just a young working guy, and I remember working a job just to pay for the car to get to the job, and, um, I honestly feel like that is my current situation through my whole life. I just pay to have the car to get me to the place to pay for the car. So, along the way, I picked up a few kids and a family and all that good stuff, but
Yeah.
just working to pay for the car.
You still have a lot, and you have a classic car now, don't you?
I do. We have a
You
couple. We
yes.
have, so, oh god, so you must know the Plymouth Satellite from when Catherine and I had a car together, right?
Yes.
So
I'm
Catherine's a little bit older than me. She was the first
yeah.
license, but I had some money. So together we put our little dollar collections together and bought a car, and it was a 74 Plymouth Satellite that I ended up totaling on Spears. And
Oh,
I know, out front of the
well,
S.
as long as you weren't totaled.
Oh, I am totaled. And so I found the car. I had this inkling to buy. I've always had my eye on that car, and bought one. And now that's my sort of, run around fun old timey car. And then also my daughter, Sophie, is just turned 16, but just got her
Mm.
license. So I wanted to get her a car. And I'm like, what better car to get than a 85 Rabbit convertible? So we have
Oh,
these two kind of older, I'll call them vintage classic cars because to me they are. But that's
yeah.
kind of my car situation right now. They're not
Oh, that's
crazy done
great.
up. They just look nice, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, for sure. Wow, what a lucky kid, Sophie. That's a pretty cool dad. Get
She's a great kid, with or without luck. She's a good girl.
Yeah. When I was 16, my Oma had a 67 Beetle, and she
Wait,
talked
I
to my
remember seeing
parents.
you in but you had like some kind of wagon, like an Oldsmobile wagon or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
my dad
Malibu? What
kiboshed the
was it?
Beetle. It was Buick Century
Oh, Buick
with
Century.
the
Okay,
wood.
all right. Close enough.
Yeah. But my Oma said to my dad, if Moni's going to get her license, I want to give her this car. And he said, no, I will not have my daughter drive that suicide mobile. So I never got the 67 because the engine's in the back. So
Yeah,
he
he
was
wasn't
like
wrong. I
paranoid.
mean, he probably
No.
saved your life, but, oh, that's great, that's great. You looked on my
Yeah.
bio. I work at, KISS 98.5 in Buffalo. It's funny because you mentioned all the places I have worked, but I actually have been at the
Yeah.
same station for, quite a while now.
Yeah.
So it's fun. So I'm still people ask, "What do you" I remember listening to you on the radio, "What do you do now?" And I'm like, "I do the same thing. Same station, same place, same everything, same show, same whatever." So,
Amazing.
if it hits you to listen to something fun, KISS 98.5 is out of Buffalo, New York, in Niagara Falls
Yeah.
on the US side, and that's what I do, 7 days a week. I'm on there in the morning.
God, that's incredible. So,
Isn't it?
Nicholas, before all of this, like, what did little Nicholas want to be when he grew up? Do
Uh,
you remember?
I didn't have a goal, put it that way. The idea of just getting by. Just honestly, I just wanna have a car. Um,
Mhm.
I can't it's funny you ask. At times I want to do and be different things. I thought about being a lawyer because my dad really, really wanted me to be a lawyer or would talk about that a lot, and, I didn't, but I thought about it a lot, but I just kept working along the way, so I don't know that I had a goal or a dream of being a something. Um,
Mhm.
I don't think maybe I don't think that far ahead. I just kind of get to the end of the week, you know?
Yeah.
All about the weekend.
Okay, I do have some specific questions about you because you inspired me so much in high school
Really?
because yeah, because you had your own business with your friend Tim Sesnick, and it
Yes.
was called TN
Tea
Mix
and Mixed
Productions.
Productions.
And by the
That was
way,
Tim's a success
speaking of
story. You gotta talk to Tim.
speaking of
Oh my
speaking of
god.
making millions, oh, here we go. Look at that.
Wow.
Can you
Wait,
I don't
did
know if you can
I
see the
typed
playlist.
those?
You typed
Oh
those for
my
me. That's
gosh.
I know. I will take a photo so folks can
Oh
see
my
the
God, that's
songs on
great.
here.
Wait, hold on. White
Yeah,
Lines, Wham Rap. I owe
yeah.
you 20 questions, TikTok. This is amazing. Whisper to a Scream, Dancing in Heaven, Q Feel. There's some Fix on there. Howard Jones, Lone Ranger. That's Jerry Cott. Oh my God, I got the message. Men Without Hats. Ivan, what's up? Come Live With Me, Heaven 17. This is amazing. I
Isn't
didn't
this
know
great?
this existed. Um,
Yes.
I'm looking for one song because there's one song, like everybody has a song. There's one song
Yep.
that reminds me of you, and it's uh is it Everything Counts by Depeche Mode.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
on here.
Is it? Oh my
Yep.
God. Yeah, that's your song. Just so you know.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, that's great.
That's well, yours is Hey
Oh,
DJ.
DJ, yeah. So
Yeah,
there
it's for me.
there was Hey DJ, was it Rocksteady Crew? Or was that
Yeah, was it?
World Famous Supreme Team Show? World Famous Supreme Team Show.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there's a song by Lizzo out right now called About Damn Time. And she
Yes.
uses the opening riff of that song is World Famous Supreme Team Show, which was a New York outfit that Malcolm McLaren got behind, and they had a few hits, but at the time, scratching and all that was just very young. Like that whole street
Yeah.
DJ rapper thing was in its infancy. You know what I mean? It was just very
Right.
fresh, and Malcolm came in from London, said, "This is what we're doing now, world." And yeah, Hey DJ, just play that song, keep me dancing all night long. So the opening riff of that, the notes and the chords are what Lizzo uses in this big, huge, summer anthem that she's got. So when I heard that, my
Yeah.
ears kind of perked up. I'm like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
So way back then, I was onto something, and Lizzo finally figured it out. So there it is.
Yeah, you totally were, and as soon as that song came out, I was like, "Nicholas," and I remembered you, like, d having all the dance moves and us going down to Coronation Park, and you were dancing on
Oh,
the stage and singing the song.
yes, band shell, right? There was like a band shell, or
Yeah,
wow,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
crazy.
it's so
How do you?
great.
So let me ask,
But
because you and my sister are really
yeah,
good with remembering stuff from high school that I just don't remember. Like you're mentioning things, and now I'm getting, you know,
well,
echoes and memories that really haven't existed for a long time. I just don't remember a lot of that stuff, and I don't know why.
yeah, well, it could be also because we're close to this area still, right? Like, I still drive by Blakelock all the time. I have more
Really?
triggers to keep the memories flowing
Oh,
maybe, I
that's
don't
cool.
know.
I can't say I've done that in a long time.
Yeah, yeah, I can see, like, if you're away from here, maybe it's not as much in the front of
Yeah,
your mind, but I'm
yeah.
gonna bring it all back today, don't you worry.
Oh, good.
So
If you're
so,
just joining
you
us,
know
I'm me, and this is Monica. So hello.
yeah, exactly, and we're just gonna have our own conversation here.
Yeah.
So, Nicholas, okay, so here is my memory.
Hmm.
Now, you started this DJing business with your friend Tim.
Yeah.
And because of you guys, from grade 9 to grade 13, I mean, I think you were already gone by then. There were a couple of other DJs too, but for the majority of those years, I was never home on a Friday or Saturday night, thanks to you guys, because you were renting out Knights of Columbus.
Hmm.
You had some big venues and people were coming, and I remember, like, hanging out with you in the week and being like, "Let's go get an ice cream," or whatever, and you'd always have, like, wads of cash in your pocket, and because everybody was, like, $5 at the door, and you guys made it happen, but
I have
what
such
I
a good
wanna
story that
ask you
I'm oh, I'm
th
just remembering now, Monica, because you bring up the Knights of Columbus. There
Yeah.
was one night where I don't know what happened, but it was the perfect storm, and we had like the party of the year, and we sold
Mhm.
out of tickets. And so I had some friends that were kind of, running the tickets at the door. And my friend Ian Horseman,
Yeah.
um, I'm pretty sure he's a chiropractor now. Great guy.
Yes.
Ian took the tickets from the front door that he collected. You're coming in, would take the ticket, and people come in. And then he'd go out the back door and go resell them to people standing in line that couldn't get tickets. And so I'm pretty sure we filled that place twice capacity. And Ian just came, he came to me. There wasn't any more room in his pockets for the money. And so I remember he took off like his gym sock and stuffed it with $5 bills.
Oh, I
And
love that.
I'm like, this was just like, and it was probably one of the nights when Stephen Aaron's band was playing, maybe The Edge.
Yeah.
And we had we have music videos on beta tapes. My God, that was a great night. I don't remember the party. I remember Ian with this big smile on his face and like a big gym sock full of money. And it was incredible. But anyhow, that's my big
Yeah.
flashback memory of the Knights of Columbus TN Mix Productions excitement plus video dances.
Yes, it was amazing. But okay, so but what I want to understand, as my dad would say,
Monica.
like, yeah, what the hell? Like, how did you guys pull this off? Like, let's give the people some, like, you were 15 years old. First of all, you're talking about renting venues. You're
Mhm,
talking about fronting money for something that who knows if it's going to work or not.
mhm.
You're like, one thing I can't remember, was your first gig like actually at a Blake Lock dance? Is that what kind
No,
of
no,
like,
no.
how was it born?
Great question. I'm pretty sure. So Tim plays a huge role at that time because Tim Sesnick, um,
Yeah.
amazing accountant, money guy. His dad was in the restaurant business and owned a sound system like speakers, projection screen. He had the gear and turntables, and you can't DJ without gear with speakers, like the whole, big Sirwin Vegas with the subs. And I'm pretty sure we rented additional equipment, maybe from Phil Aspinall's probably part of this. Maybe that was after. I don't. Maybe we used Phil. Anyhow, I just knew the right people and had the means to do it. And I worked from a young age. Like I always had a job doing something somewhere restaurant related, or at that time it would have been probably restaurant Ponderosa, pre-car, bicycle to maybe Trader Jack's in Bronte, maybe Mother's. I don't know. I wasn't delivering pizza yet. I wasn't driving. So this would have been restaurant work. And you get a little bit of money. You get your 365 an hour or whatever, and you add that up. And so you get some money set aside. And um, the idea of investing it's money that had to be spent on stuff, the rental of the hall. And you hope and you pray that it works out. And I've had gigs not work out and gigs that did work out. And so I had a good run of things that did work out. Does that make sense?
Mhm. It totally makes sense. I mean, I don't remember ever anything not working out. Every time it was your name was behind it, it was packed in there.
Oh, God bless you. It's
Yeah.
not always like that. Sometimes hit or miss. I mean, I'm always trying to make
Mhm.
things better, put it that way. So whatever gig I do or thing I do, I'm like, okay, well, how is it better next time? And so I guess that's my mantra is keep making it better.
Yeah.
And so even
Yes.
back those days, Monica, it was as simple as I would call the Knights of Columbus or get on my blue Schwinn and ride up there and talk to the oldest person I've ever met in my life that would book the hall, and we'd get it done, and it was great. And I don't remember a lot of problems like with them. It was just like, how long do you need it for? What do you need? What are you doing? Boom.
Yeah.
And I'd show up with some money, put a deposit, and the place was ours. Wasn't fancy, but it was nice.
Perfect. Oh, it was great. And it was like your place. We knew if it was Knights of Columbus, it was your dance.
Yeah, yeah. And I think
Yeah.
there were other competing dances in town, but I didn't go to them or I didn't know about them or I don't know. We just did ours, focus on your own.
Yeah, nobody knew about those ones.
I'm sure they were great, but yeah, the Galaxy would do them on the other side of town. So,
Yeah, that's right. I went to those dances after you were already gone, I
mhm.
think. Yeah, you
Ah,
were.
gone.
But
I didn't go to prison, just to be clear.
you were already
I
gone.
was gone for a
Okay.
while. No, I just went to do other things. I don't know.
Yeah, but so you're the inspiration, right? So here you are, you're like 15, I'm
Mhm,
14. You're running your own business. You got the cash. You're like so generous, treating to stuff, an amazing friend, always sharing. And I'm like, I got to do something. Like,
mhm.
we can do our own things when we're young. And then I started my t-shirt business when I was 15. But that sprung from you. Like, it was so inspiring to see somebody so young, generating their own revenue. Like, it was awesome.
I've never thought
And
about it in that way, Monica. It's crazy that you look at it from that
yeah.
perspective. I mean, I know me. So that's great to hear. I didn't know I inspired you for all that. I know that
Yeah.
when you needed help, you know, I help out.
Yeah, always. You always have. So your rise up the DJ ladder,
Mhm.
like to me as an outsider looking in, that has not been something easy. It was not an overnight success. You worked your ass off to get to where you are today. Can you take us through those years of what you kind of did after high school?
Um, yeah, again, it all kind of blurs because I went away for a bit. I went down to Florida for a minute.
Yeah.
Um, I always just sort of so again, Tim Sesnick, as I told you, was kind of pivotal for these little dances that we did when I was 15. And again, you know that my age better than I do. I wouldn't know how old I was at the time. I can remember I wasn't driving yet because I needed a ride to the place or my bike or whatever, which is just kind of funny.
Yeah.
I think Tim drove, or maybe, yeah, I think Tim drove, or his sister. I can't remember, but anyhow, um, as I mentioned, Tim's dad, Paul, owned a bar up in Brampton. And when I turned 16 and got my license, I was already kind of doing stuff with Tim. And then he would say, "Oh, I'm DJing at my dad's bar." And I'm like, "That's crazy." And then I started DJing at his dad's bar, which was, a half hour away. Like a bar, like an
Yeah.
O'Toole's type of roadhouse. It was called Malarkey's. Imagine Cheers, but there's a dance floor. And
Okay.
that's where I started, like maybe Wednesday night, ladies' night or something. And I'm a 16-year-old kid working in a bar in Brampton, and there's a strip bar across the street. And just, I wouldn't send my 16-year-old there if I were my parent, but I
Yeah.
did and had a blast, and kind of started doing things from there. Like once you work at one place, then you would work at another. And I joined like a DJ service company that would book you. So oh, I can't remember the name. Nice guy that ran the place. And so I literally walked in there, hiring DJs. So I drove by and I'm like, "Oh, I'm a DJ. We'll go in there." And then they would book you like like an O'Toole's or Pat Mario's or Pete Marty's. Pete Marty's was pivotal. I'm trying to think of other sort of benchmarks along the way. I just worked at a different place every night of the week. And one of them,
Mm.
so in that era, I don't know, a couple years later, I'm 18 years old. I'm DJing at Sparkles atop the CN Tower, like the nightclub that used to be up there.
Yeah.
Um, just a lot of like restaurant nightclub after hours, like your Pat Mario's, Pete Marty's, O'Toole's. There were a couple others. I can't remember, some hotel bars, stuff like that. So I would just kind of just keep taking gigs and realize what I'm good at. And um, I don't know, uh,
Yeah.
just like having fun. So, but I was out like for a while. I worked every night of the week somewhere. And
God, and you were up for school in the morning, like you're still 16, 17 years
yeah,
old.
yeah, 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 yeah. I
So,
was
like,
well, and that was a time when I went to London a few times. Um, we had an opportunity to get these free flights to London through a courier service, and um, I would go on a Tuesday and come back. No, go on a Thursday and come back on a Sunday, and with an armload, as many records as you could carry from the Record and Tape Exchange in London in the West End. And I still have a whole bunch of those records with the little sticker on it, and they were promo copies of whatever was hot in the UK at that time. So it was you need to understand at the time, if you didn't have the record, you couldn't play the song. See, right now,
right.
everybody has the same music library on your phone or device or whatever.
Yeah.
Back then, you had to have the thing. If you didn't have the record, you didn't play the song. If you didn't play the song, well, you didn't have it. It wouldn't get
Exactly.
heard. So you had to physically have a copy of the thing that played the song, and it's totally different than DJing now. And you say successful DJ, but I have friends that like tour as your professional, show DJs, like Get a World and stuff like that. I'm not at that
Yeah.
level. And so
Yeah.
I've met a lot of those guys. I know some of them. I got a friend that does that for a living, and it's a fun gig. But
Mhm.
early on, I had the opportunity to get into that vein, and I don't, I wanted to stay with my day job. I like my day job, so I didn't want to give that up to go touring and, do all that stuff. So, you make the
Yeah.
decision, you
Yeah,
go.
that would be a hard lifestyle too, I think. Like that.
Yeah, I think, and
Yeah.
especially now that, since making that decision, then, wife, 3 kids, the whole thing.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Your sister just said Swiftsure.
Yeah, Swift. Yeah, the
She
courier
made
company, Swiftsure.
Swiftsure. Yeah,
Yeah, Ralph.
Swiftsure. Yeah.
Okay, this is all coming
It's
back
all
to me
coming
now.
back.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
fun, but so I think I was 15 or 16 when maybe I was 16, I would get on this plane. I think my mom or dad would drive me to the airport. I'd get on a plane and I'd have no destination, like literally fly into Heathrow, take the train into London, and then just you got to kill 3 days. You got to wait. And I just remember, I don't say my parents didn't show a lot of concern, but they didn't ask a lot of questions. Not even where are you staying, what are you doing. I would just bring cash to pay for a kind of a room, bed and breakfast or something like that. I think that was the
Yeah.
first time I ever heard the phrase bed and breakfast. So, was in London in the West End, and that was some magical times because literally you are so 3 days of just you had to wait for your particular flight back. You're just spending time walking around, soaking it in. And there's to me,
Yeah.
one of my greatest pleasures is just like a street walk, up Spadina or in London or down Broadway in New York. Like there's something, or Melrose, like going to those
Mhm.
iconic, just all those stores on the street and walking around and having no timeline. To me, that's the best. You can stop anywhere and enjoy and soak it up.
That's great. This speaks volumes to the Gen X generation. Like, we talk about our parents not knowing where we are when we were out playing on the street and then the lights come on, you got to go home. But here you are, like hopping on an
Mm,
airplane, going to London. They're like, yeah,
mm,
we trust you. Like, I know you're the youngest in your family, but still, come
yeah,
on. This is like a little, this is a
it was a
teenage
little.
boy.
I don't know. Was it that my parents were overly confident, or because I certainly don't think they didn't care, but I think my mom knew, like, you're good, you
Yeah.
got it. Go do, you know, there was no like if I was my kid, I would be every hour like, you good, everything okay? But technology didn't allow for that then.
No.
It wasn't that long ago. I mean, they were jet planes, if that puts into a time frame for you. These weren't
Yeah.
Atlantic propeller jobs.
Ah. Oh my God. And then so how did radio come about,
Oh,
Nick? Like what
super
was
easy story.
yeah.
I was working at Star Sound Records, which so if you know the Young Street record strip, it would start with Sam's and then A&A's and then HMV came along.
Mhm.
Sam's, A&A's, and then you'd walk up the street and you would get Star Sound and then the record peddler around the corner on Carlton across from the gardens. So I worked at Star Sound, which was the DJ store because I lived 2 blocks up on Maitland and then DJ'd a bunch of bars around there. So I'm working at the record store, and along the way, I befriend a dude named Tony from Australia. Jack the Bear was his DJ name, and Tony comes in the record store one day, and this is so at this time, this record store is kind of iconic because it is the DJ store. Any
Mhm.
DJ in town comes here to get the records, listen to them, and from the old school like house dudes to the hip hop guys to the avant garde, everybody goes to Star Sound. And if you work there, it's like being a maitre d' at a big restaurant. You have to set aside records for those clutch people that are in your circle. Because a record comes out, 10 copies come in. I know so-and-so is going to need one. So-and-so is going to need one. So now there are 3 left. And then the other guy grabs a few. So that's the nature of this very, I don't want to say elitist, but pretty specialty record store, which was a lot of fun. And there's
Mhm.
a lot more to Star Sound than this one story. But Tony comes in and Tony's like, "Ah, mate, I just got a job at CFNY. I'm doing an Australian music show." And I look at him and I'm like, "Man, I love you, but I can't believe they gave you a show." Because Tony is a character. And I'm like, if they're hiring you, they're hiring anybody. And so the next day I had off was Tuesday. And I got on, I think I got on a, no, I think I borrowed Esme's car, my sister's car. I
Mhm.
took sister's car up to beautiful city of Brampton. I meet with radio station. I walk in and Joanne Faluna's at the front desk and I say, hi, I'd like to apply for a job. And she's kind of staring at me and she's like, okay. And I'm like, do you have an application? Like a restaurant. She's like, no, because you don't have an application, but I had never done this. So
Right.
I wrote down some stuff on a piece of paper and I happened through the bars to know a couple of people. I knew Neil Mann at the time and Alan Cross. I had literally just met. He had just moved to town from Winnipeg. And I think I knew Earl and Bev and I kind of knew Marty. So as I'm sitting in the front lobby of CFNY, FM 102, whatever they were calling themselves at the time, they went through an identity crisis that era. A guy comes out, Bob Lehman. He's like, hey, you're looking for a job? Come on over here. And he goes, do you know how to work studio stuff? I'm like, absolutely. I feel like I was born in a studio. And so then they hire me there and then. He's like, when can you start? And I'm like, now? Tomorrow? And I think I started like that day or the next day. It was ridiculously immediate where I had to quit my record store job or change my hours or whatever to allow me to produce a request show at lunch called the All Request Nooner.
Yeah, and that's a big show. Like that.
It was a big
Wh-
show.
I rem- it was a big.
It was Alan's lunch break is what it was, because I think they had given him a longer shift, and so he wanted like a lunch hour or something. It was great. Yeah, it was so Alan wouldn't have to do anything. He could do whatever, and then I would take over and take requests from the request line, and put together this show. But it was like unscripted. So I literally went from working at record store to working at CFNY as a board op semi-producer. But the more you stay around, the more you get to do, which is the trick of any job. Immerse yourself in it, and you will find that you learn a lot just doing it. And I did, and so it was my disbelief that they hired Tony Mance, and I love Tony. That motivated me to go get a job and then just never looked back. And so I will never look back. I'll just keep going.
That's great. So you fell in love with radio like right away.
I was a fan of that station. I think, as you know, specifically, they were, that was my high school listening station where I would just love hearing those songs for whatever reason. Your teenage high school years are kind of your important music years. I think for life, like you glom onto those songs because you're becoming your own person, I think. So those songs are more meaningful. But that experience at CFNY, which then led into, I've only worked at a handful of stations where some people kind of jump around. But, after CFNY kind of collapsed with that group of people, I ended up in Buffalo at KISS 98.5, which is a straight up top 40 station formatted. I had never seen a playlist in my life until I walked into that station. I'm like, you don't pick your own songs? And they're like, mm-mm. So that's the world I'm in now. So and I did a bunch of other stuff along the way.
Yeah, so a lot of people who have been messaging me have been saying, is this really like Nicholas Picholas from YTV?
Yeah,
I
they're
go,
unique too, Monica. They're like, I get a lot of like, are you? And I'm like, no, I'm the other one. Yeah, it's me. YTV happened again. It's who you know. I had done a segment with Lori Hibbard on her show, where I came on and I think, I don't know what the subject was. We talked about music. We talked about the Pixies. That's what I remember with Lori Hibbard and my friend Jonathan Friedman. It's a TV producer guy. He was directing her show. So now I know Jonathan. Fast forward, Earl and Bev leave CFNY. Earl and Bev were a husband and wife team that worked there. And if you know them, you know them. If you don't, they're an interesting couple. Lots of great stories, lots of great history. Bev is as sweet as you are. She's lovely, helpful, caring. And Bev got hired on this show for YTV, and they were casting for it. And she recommended me because I was producing the Weekend Wake Up Show with Earl and Bev. And I got the job, and I went into Video and Arcade Top 10 as like the music guy. And yada, yada, yada. I remember my first day at the show, none of the cast would talk to me. And I'm like,
Really?
oh my God, you literally turn their back to me. And like, did I do something? Like, why are you guys not talking to me? You know, I kind of speak up. And I remember Liza Fromer goes, well, you're like the sixth guy at this job. So we're not going to bother talking to that person because they keep changing the person every week.
Oh my God.
But I ended up sticking around for 15 years. And so
That's how long you were there?
the reason they gave me was kind of tongue in cheek of, we're not going to bother talking to this person because it just keeps rotating and, you know, you probably won't be here next week. And I was. And so
Wow.
that turned into Gord Wolvett from Hamilton was the main host of the show. And maybe 2 seasons in, he had a conflict. He was in Australia, didn't come back, or something happened where they needed, the producer comes up and goes, Nikki, this old guy kind of picking his teeth because that was his thing. And he goes, Nikki, you want to host the show? You want the top job, kid? And I said, sure. Yeah. And I just did it and it worked. And got along great with Robert. Jonathan was the producer at the time.
Yeah.
And it was a really good crew. And this was old time. This was taping at YTV, and that turned into a huge network show for YTV, which still has a lot of people, you know, interested in the old days of pre-internet video games, gaming systems, gaming consoles, heavily sponsored by Nintendo. And before you could go online and get all the tips and tricks, you had to watch Video and Arcade Top 10 and send your mail in to Video and Arcade Top 10, care of REO Television, 550 Queen Street East, Suite 330, Toronto, Ontario, M5A1V2. And that's,
see, memories are coming back.
oh God, we did 700 or 800 episodes of that show.
Oh,
I was on, I think, 700 of them because maybe I didn't start until the 48th or 43rd show or something like that. So anyhow,
I had no idea you were there for 15 years. That's amazing.
yeah, it was.
I watched an episode today.
2006. I remember at the very last taping date, I had a
Yeah.
newborn baby, which was 2006. So
Wow. Oh my God. Okay, I watched one of those episodes today just to familiarize myself. And I wanted to read off a list of your giveaways. This was from episode October 4th, 1997, okay?
okay,
So
I think
your giveaways,
in the glow Timex time, maybe medieval times. Go on, I'm guessing.
yes, that's one. Timex digital watch with the Indiglow.
Yes,
Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey.
sure, that sounds good.
Game Boy, 2 little Game Boy. They look like Sony Walkmans. One was pink, one was blue, I think.
We were giving away the
And
Game Boy systems.
yeah, like the little
Yeah. All right.
And then also a giveaway to Virtual World at the CN Tower.
I got to tell you, that is still a great place to go.
Yeah, it's still there?
Oh, I don't know if Virtual World is there. The tower is still there. I think last I saw.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have a friend named Krista, who is the marketing goddess at the CN Tower, and her time goes back to Fever nightclub in Hamilton, as a Fever girl. So yeah, it's small world.
Yeah. Oh my God.
CN
So were
Tower.
you at KISS and YTV at the same time?
Yeah. For
Whoa.
well, for a long time, maybe. And the two worlds did not collide because the station's in the States. The show was in Toronto, and there's, you know, the US side has Nickelodeon, and there was like Nick Arcade, and then YTV doesn't cross the border. It went across in a few markets. It was on some satellite service, because I've been contacted by people who are like, I grew up watching you, and then they'll say Long Island, and I'm like, and they're like, satellite service. So you could, if you were an extreme gamer back then, you could pick up the show, which was, again, it was the only place to get the info and see the actual games being played.
Yeah.
So.
But that's amazing. That speaks to your work ethic again. Here
So
you are, like,
it really is a big chunk of what a lot of people know me for, but and some people have no idea. Like, my own nephew did not know that I did a TV show until a couple of years ago, till someone told him. And I'm like, well, your dad didn't let you have a TV in the house. That kind of makes sense. You know Sasha. He had no,
Yeah.
not even, he's like, someone at work
Wow.
told me, and I'm like,
Someone
how
at work.
did that come up? So some people know, some
Yeah.
people don't. So yeah, there's that.
That's great. Well, I love that the last time I saw you, we were talking about how, when you come to visit Toronto, like one walk up Yonge Street and, three or four millennials are stopping you saying, "Hey, man, I grew up with you." And that's
Catherine
so
saw it.
great.
Catherine saw it for real up in Bancroft.
Okay.
We were at Foodland, or I don't know, wherever, like Canada Walmart, and
Yeah.
this guy that is, I don't know if he's the cart wrangler or the whatever, he's a front end guy at the store, and he's just eyeballing me, and I kind of look at Catherine and nod to this guy, and this guy's eyeballing me like I murdered his family. He's staring at me, and he's kind of cold faced, and then he comes up, he taps me on the back, he's like, "Are you Nicholas Picholas?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." And this guy loses his marbles, and
Wha-
nicest kid in the world. Um, Grew up watching me, big fan, could not believe I was up in suburban Mantooth. I don't know where I was. That was Northern Ontario. Like,
Yeah.
what are the chances this guy comes into your store and that somebody recognizes? So I just remember Catherine just shaking her head, going, "Yeah, probably." It was very fun. It was cute.
That's so great. Oh,
Mhm.
man, I love that. So now today,
Yeah.
Kiss 98.5, you've been there for all these years and you've
Mhm.
done, more than just being on the radio, you've interviewed a lot of celebrities. You're also DJing as part of that. You've got this association with the Bills now. Like there's so much.
Mhm.
So in all of these years, has there been a moment where you've interviewed or met someone where you're like, oh, finally, like I get to meet this person? Has there been
Um,
anybody like that for you, or are you the type to really be that way inclined anyway, where you're like, oh, I'd really love to
there,
be
so yeah,
starstruck
so
or
it's interesting. There are some interviews that I want to do because I'm a fan, and
Mhm.
but they're not always my favorite interviews. Like the ones that have been memorable are the surprise interviews where it's like, oh wow, like well, I the one that comes to mind was Janet Jackson, who the interview happens. Um, it was a big deal to get a Janet Jackson interview on, and this was, I think I was at Energy at the time, but she didn't want to do the interview. She just wanted to talk about stuff, and she was asking me about my shirt and where to shop and Toronto and stores and yada yada yada. And this dude from the record company was big on the, "Nikki, you've got 9 minutes, 9 minutes, not a minute longer. I'll come in and turn off your recorder. 9 minutes." We're in there for like 20 minutes and she hasn't started recording. And the guy's losing his mind. And Janet's like, "Just hold on. We're still talking." And
Oh,
she goes
love
from
it.
that very light, lilting, Janet Jackson voice where she's like, "My family," and then she's just normal. And the normal part
Yeah.
blew me away. I'm like, "You're just like the rest of us, but you're a Jackson." It was weird. It was surreal because some celebs are people you only see in, it'd be like seeing Elton John with no glasses and a t-shirt on. Like it's to see
Yeah.
someone out of the light that they shine on themselves. Because Janet, I'm pretty sure controls how you see her. To get just to spend some time with her and realize she's really cool was a moment. And there've been a lot of artists like that where they're just like, there's down to earth and then there's real and then there's fake down to earth. And sometimes you can call it and sometimes it just surprises you. So it's those surprising interviews with the artists. And I've got a chance to interview a lot of people. And it's recently I've done a thing which I really like, these onstage interviews. I did one with John Cusack. And so this was in Buffalo. We showed the movie Say Anything up on big arena screen. And then curtain up, there's two chairs. There's me and John Cusack, and we're going to talk about this movie and take questions from the audience. And so that was just before COVID. COVID happened. And then so now that we're back to things, we're doing one with Napoleon Dynamite. And that happens in April of next year, where we show Napoleon Dynamite and then curtain up and there's John Heder and Ephraim Ramirez, and so Napoleon, Pedro, and
Mhm.
Uncle Rico, and then I chat with them for a minute, and then the audience fires off questions, and so that's something I
Oh,
love doing.
fantastic.
Yeah, and that's all in front of like it's a sold out crowd, and
Yeah.
they're all pumped from having seen the movie. And I forgot that When in Rome is like at the end of the movie, and that always the music in that movie was great.
Yeah.
I'm a big music guy, big song correlation guy, and
Yeah.
so that song I watched it again with my daughter, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot how damn cool this movie is, and how stupid it is, and how big it was. So that's one aspect of interviewing that I like doing. The radio stuff is
Yeah.
fun. I had a chance to interview Michael Bublé
Mhm.
a few weeks ago, and that interview happened because remember the day I walked into CFNY and applied for a job with the girl at the counter? She
Yeah.
works for his organization, and so through that encounter way back then, she works for Bublé's people, and so you make a request, you hope something happens, and it did, and it was a lovely interview. And Bublé is just a charmer. Dude's
Yeah.
dude does everything right. So
Oh, fantastic. I love how your career is ever evolving and you're still to this day excited about things and excited about change and,
I
doing
am,
things
and
differently. Like
the
you're,
technology obviously has changed, but then it hasn't because it's
yeah,
still songs, it's still music. The playing format is still big. I started DJing with music videos, and I still work with music videos a lot right now. Like I can do a show which is all video and fun, and so that's technology wise, that's just much easier. Um, so I'm the evolution. It goes back to that thing where I don't look back, never look back, and just keep moving
yeah.
forward. So I'm not a big reminiscer, but I love talking to you about this stuff because
Yeah.
like you were there from the beginning, which is cool.
Yeah. And I like I also I'm all for the future, but I do like to look back because when we look back, we see the how what the work was involved to build the foundation to be able to stand where we are today, right? And sometimes I think on the outside it looks to people like, oh man, that guy was lucky or he had a lucky break or whatever, but it's not like that. Like you really persevered all those years and actually that was something that I wanted to ask you, like
Mhm.
what's always motivated you to work so hard? Like, was there someone in your life who showed you that, or
Yeah,
do you feel
yeah,
like you
yeah,
were
yeah, yeah.
born that way?
You know, um, my parents, absolutely, strong work ethic. Um, my mom was funny. You don't want to hire a guy for something you can do yourself, and this plays in my head daily. And so I'm the first guy to try and do something, fix something, do it on my own before I hire somebody. And not everybody's like that. And so um, I will try and do it myself first, and then get halfway through the project. It's always one step forward, two steps back, which is life. And so
Yeah.
at least I give it a try, do what I can, and
Yeah.
it's probably in the end run. I have a friend that just hires for everything. He's probably got a better life than I do because everything works, everything's fixed, everything's done. But I do like trying and learning how to do things. So I get that work ethic from my mother, my family. Everybody's worked hard. I don't I don't ever think about lucky breaks. I've met some good people, but it's not like I didn't go out looking for them. I just ran into good people. So yeah,
Yeah.
luck. I think luck plays into it. I've had good opportunities pop up, situational, just knowing the right person, or you know, being the guy that answers the phone. Would that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yes, totally makes sense. You know what else? I don't know if we ever talked about this, just quickly, not that anybody's, but I also lived on Maitland Street.
You did?
Yes.
What number? What building?
I can't remember. It was a triplex on the north side, just
Mm, the South
west
Side.
of Jarvis.
Yeah, you're.
Like I was pretty much across from Mutual Street,
Yeah, I know exactly.
Like if yeah.
We were, I think, 18 Maitland, which was I think it was a Bramley building. Maybe Bramley owned it, Bramley Builders. And
Okay.
I remember the
Where
Condo King lived in our building, and he had a license plate that says Condo King. And then someone put an M
I,
on it for a while. He was Condom King, and it was funny. I don't know. It was a different time.
so what intersection? Maitland and were you close to
Young and
Young then?
let off Young.
Okay, yeah, I was
Yeah,
more like between Church and Jarvis, but
yeah.
that's
You were down
funny.
at the other end. Yeah, I was Young and Maitland, and it was a newer building with a. Oh wow! So I remember. So I would DJ at Empire, was kind of across the street, Empire Club, but then I also worked at the Copa, which was up around
Okay,
Young and Bloor. And I would
yes,
get home from the club or whatever, with your record crates. It was literally hauling record crates at the time.
yeah.
I'd take a cab home with however many crates I had. Maybe usually it was a 4 crate affair. And the door guy would be really cool. Leon, the doorman, would be like, "Hey man, you want to go for a swim?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to go for a swim." And so he would open up like the rooftop pool in the summer. I'd be out
Come
there all on
on.
my own, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, just floating on top of the city. It was a crazy memory, crazy memory.
Yeah, what year was that? Do you remember?
90, 90, 90 something. I don't know, early 90s, maybe,
Oh God,
maybe
I
89.
lived on Maitland in 91. I could have been up there in the pool with you.
It was
Damn it.
crazy. It was crazy fun. It was a good time. So
Yeah.
again, it's nice that you jog these memories out because I haven't thought about that.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up the Copa because that's where I saw Erasure. And every time someone says, "You saw Erasure where?" I can never remember the name. It was the Copa. They
Yeah,
played
yeah,
there.
sure.
Yeah.
So I would
Yeah.
do. So there would be a lot of times there'd be a concert, then I would DJ before the concert or in between. I still do that with a lot of gigs in town, working with bands or being like the warm up or in between guy or whatever, just kind of filling that gap, and that's a lot of fun to do.
Yeah. Are you loving the stuff for the Bills that you're doing, like the football?
Yeah, that's a whole
Yeah.
different thing. So there's a group of people that only know me as the guy that plays music at the Bills games or the Bills DJ, or they call it in-game DJ because there are different DJs that do different things for the team, separate events.
Right.
I'm in charge of like once the warm up is done and then the game, all that stuff starts during the game. That's my world. And
Okay.
the recently the big thing was due to the big storm that we had, they had to play a home game out of town, and it was kind of funny to bring along the hometown DJ, so that this neutral offsite field, which ended up being Ford Field in Detroit, sounded like the stadium in Orchard Park, suburban Buffalo. And it was just
Oh,
funny I texted the guy that runs things as a joke when I heard that they were doing the game out of town. I was like, "Hey man, you need me to DJ this?" And he said, "Yeah, let me look into it." And we did, and it became a funny thing. They mentioned it on the TV broadcast, which, you know, 20 million people watching. The phone blew up when that happened, which was just a funny, stupid aside thing. But
yeah.
they don't usually mention who's DJing the game during the game. And it was just kind
Right.
of funny. And then you hear this name that you might know from CFNY, YTV, Random Record Stores, O'Toole's, Play Clock. Like,
Yeah.
you hear this name on the show, and it brought in these messages from people I haven't heard of in years. It was just kind of funny. So,
Oh, what a gift. That's so
yeah, it
cool.
was very funny.
Before I let you go, I do need to know, how was Nicholas Picholas born, the name?
Oh,
Did somebody give
yeah.
you that or
I roll my eyes.
do you remember?
It's such a stupid name.
No, it's great.
Really? Okay. Anyhow, I didn't push it away, put it that way. So it
Yeah.
started at CFNY. I worked with Earl and Bev, the husband and wife team. Again, Bev,
Mhm.
super sweet. Earl, one of the funniest people. Like, those people you just lose your breath laughing around because you can't stop laughing? That's Earl. At least for me, and we've spent time over the years. He's a great guy. I was part of their little unit, and my relationship with them began with a song by the band Electronic, which was Johnny Marr and Bernard Sumner. Anyhow, it was a weird mix of um, getting to know them through the radio station, through music, through stuff like that. Um, we connected. I started working for their show. Beverly would call me Nicholas Picholas because she has a nephew named Nicholas. And they called him Nicholas Picholas at wherever the hell her nephew lived. I think California, maybe somewhere else. And so she would just call me that as a joke. And Earl, of course, thought it was hilarious. And it stuck. And to this day, I work with people at my station that I've known my entire career at that station that still don't spell it right. And one of them was just texting me, and I'm laughing because she still calls me Nicholas, spells it completely like it's not supposed to be spelled. And that got me wondering, I don't know if there is a correct spelling of it. So it just is what it is. It's a stupid rhymey name. And people remember it. And it's kind of disarming because, you know, it's kind of like a Mr. Bean name. Like you can't take this person seriously or whatever. I don't know what it is. It's fun. It works.
It is fun. It totally works. I love it. Nicholas, thank you. Oh my God. I'm so happy. This went by way too fast.
Wait, we're not done, are we?
What time? We've got, if we can keep going, it's 3:30. I've had you for an hour.
I don't know how long these things usually go. I've seen them usually go like just under an hour.
Yeah.
Steve was great, by the way. Yeah. Thanks for bringing fellas on.
Yes. Well, I'm so happy that because I think it's important, like, you know who I was actually texting with? Remember Paul Duke?
Of course I remember Paul Duke.
Yeah.
Paul was, oh God, in high school, he's the guy. Paul had the coolest effing records in the world.
Yes.
Like, and he just looked the part. He kind of looked new wave. Who was I talking about?
Yeah, he was great.
Do you remember when they shot the Reflex video in Toronto?
Yes.
And flipping Ron Anasich, I think, got in the video.
Did he? Yeah. Wasn't there a guy, Paul Ship, that got in the video?
Yeah, maybe there was a bunch of people that got in the video for that.
Ron Anasich. I haven't heard that name. God. Why were we in that video?
How is Paul? Paul is good?
Paul is good. So I didn't really know him. He reached out after I'd interviewed Steve. Like I'd met him a couple times. Yeah. And he said right away, I'm so happy that you're bringing guys in, because, and he made a good point. It's like, in anything in the world, we always do better when we come together, right? Segregation it's not always the best.
I know you, so that's
but I was
when I girl power, and so I'm just happy that we're allowed to join in now. Thank you.
Oh God, you totally are. And when I started it, I felt like this is something that I've always wanted to do, the female empowerment thing. But then as I'm interviewing people, I'm like, but wait, I want to talk to Nicholas. I want to talk to Steve. I want to talk to, I know so many wonderful men. Like it wasn't sitting well with me anymore. It's like, no, I got to open this up. So I'm really happy I did. And Paul will be a future guest on the show. So I'm super excited about that. And we did quite the trip down memory lane too. And
good memory.
We were lucky. Like I said in the interview with Steve, it was like growing up in a John Hughes film, eh?
Totally. Oh my God.
Yeah, we really like sunny days in Oakville and the BMW and Oakville Place. Like, come on, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was I don't know if everybody's high school experience is as magical as that, but it was a really interesting group of people and characters. And you're right, it was like being in a movie, like a John Hughes movie with a great soundtrack. So well, thank you.
Well, I have to say, you're one of the people that made it magical, and without you spinning those records and introducing us to different types of music, and even like the rap stuff, like you were the only person that I knew that was into that introduced me to that scene. And that was amazing too. It's like, so that all contributed to the magic for sure, because otherwise I don't know if I would have been that into high school, because I sure wasn't into the studying.
That's very funny.
It turned out it did. Totally did. Thank you so much, Nicholas.
Thank you.
I'm going to put you in the virtual green room.
All right, I'm going to hang out here and enjoy the fruit. Thanks.
Okay, sounds good. And the champagne. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with my dear friend Nicholas Picholas. He is so awesome. I hope you're inspired and heard some great stories. Please do not forget to check out our sponsors, brendabadome.com. Use the coupon code Get to Know Them and get 22% off of your order. And as always, please head on over to glamjewels.com. Check out my jewelry biz. Grab yourself some nice gifts for Christmas, and wishing you a wonderful rest of your day. And happy St. Nicholas Day, by the way. How apropos that we had the best Nicholas I could think of for the show. Take care. Keep on showing the world your sparkle. We will see you back here next week.